Hi everyone, a really warm welcome back to the channel, Nelly the Narcissist. Thank you so much for joining today. So what do vampires and narcissists have in common? Quite a lot actually. So let's look at this parallel between vampires and narcissists. And we're going to start by looking at how the vampiric narcissist first captures their victims. Then we'll look at how the toxic bond is actually created and how it entraps the chosen target and possesses them. And then we'll look at how this possession can continue even after the relationship has long ended and is reflected in the trauma bond. So it's very fitting to release this video around Halloween because relationships with covert narcissists, they're like entering real life horror films. And the severity of the narcissist's mental illness will determine how monstrous they are and how horrific the experience is going to be with them. We're used to witnessing this in horror films and thrillers. Nobody ever thinks that this can be real life. And obviously in real life, it's so much worse. Truth is always scarier than fiction. And in looking at narcissistic abuse through the vampire analogy, I really hope that it will be helpful to you, particularly if you still experience the pull of the trauma bond, the call of the vampire, even after the relationship has actually ended and you're now not physically in it, but you still feel energetically entangled. I don't want to say connected because it's not connected, it's entangled. That's more appropriate. But just before I get into the topic, I just want to say a big thanks to everybody that is supporting me and subscribed to the channel, especially those that have been with me since the very start. You know who you are. I appreciate you very much. And for anybody that is new, I started this channel after a very close encounter with a malignant covert narcissist, a highly dangerous creature. And here I also reflect the spiritual aspects of MPD and narcissistic relationships, as well as the psychology, because there is such a large spiritual and energetic element to all of this. It's actually huge, but not many people delve into it. And that's why it's so important to have channels that are talking about it. And actually, Narcon and Paula over there was the first channel that I came across in my recovery journey that covers the spiritual element that really helped me. So if you haven't checked out her channel, then do so. And if you know any other channels that are really helpful that cover the spiritual element of narcissistic abuse, then feel free to drop it in the comments below. So if you appreciate this video, then please do like it, share it, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you. What I like about the vampire analogy that hits home in some of the stories is how the vampire romanticizes their reality, and they paint this grandiose and fantastical vision of how life with them could be. The vampire future fakes with their victims. They lie to them. And I'm not talking about every victim, but we see in horror films how there are times when they specially select and choose their companions to join them in the underworld. And then they have this process of seduction, which is very alluring because it has to be that way. They know that their world is lifeless and filled with corpses reeking of death. They know that they're a monster and they're caught within their own trap because they need the life source of others to sustain their own. And in the case of the vampire, it's blood. But in the case of a narcissist, it's energy. It's your time, it's your mind, it's your body, it's your soul, it's all of you. And that can be reflected as your entire being, your life force, which is in effect your blood. Our blood gives us life. The vampire drinks the victim's blood, at least is visible on the surface. But the narcissist drains your energy and your life force, but you'll never ever see the mark of it because they do it energetically. So it's invisible. In the beginning, the narcissist, like the vampire, sells their world to you. They make it seem like they're going to give you new life.
What if I could give it back to you? Pluck out the pain and give you another life, one you could never imagine.
You don't realize that the terms and conditions in the small print is you need to leave who you are and your whole life behind you, because the moment that you step into that relationship, the narcissist will take possession of you and will make you their servant and slave.
You will make a very good assistant, Mr. Ranchield.
They future fake how wonderful your time's going to be with them, how it's going to be like nothing that you've ever experienced before. It will be extravagant and colorful. Your world will be kaleidoscopic in comparison to the black and white that you're used to. They seduce you by giving you a glorified image of yourself within this picture. And they trick you into believing that they see you differently. They see your potential. They see you beyond everyone else. Whatever it is that you want, the vampire knows exactly what it is. They have a supernatural way of reading your mind. They're creatures of the night. They know how to get you. But if you don't know vampires exist, if you don't know the red flags to watch out for, you have no chance against them. You need Van Helsing for that. They want you to be together forever, soulmates, deeply connected, inseparable, living it up with champagne and chandeliers, extravagantly, incredible. Who wouldn't want that fun? So the vampire or the narcissist gives you a false idea that you're loved by them. They conceal the truth. Now, in some cases, and I think both is true for narcissists, sometimes vampires are deeply lonely and they're sad and they want companions. The vampire needs you. They need your presence. They want you entangled with them. And that is the sad aspect reflected in some of these horror films. The other aspect of, the vampire, instead of loneliness, although, like I said, both can be present with narcissists, is they need a servant. They need someone to provide for them and be at their beck and call, as is the case of Renfield for Dracula. Dracula doesn't care about Renfield. He has a role to fulfill, and that's it. Dracula has got no issue with harming or disposing of him should he not be serving his purpose. And that, of course, is how narcissists consider the people in their life. There is no respect for servants. If you consider yourself to be the master, then a servant doesn't have an identity. They have a purpose and that's it. And sometimes that is full blown in narcissistic relationships. And other times, narcissists do become fully dependent and emotionally dependent upon a person that they desperately don't want to lose. And they wish to keep that person energetically entrapped within their hold forever. Many narcissists will do this with empaths. And in my own case, the malignant narcissist that was extremely harmful to my life and to anybody's life said to me that they didn't want me romantically, but I was more than a friend to them. The narcissist said that I was more like blood family because, you see, the narcissist knew that lovers to them were interchangeable. They were never consistent. Friends weren't close enough. They wanted me entrapped forever as their chosen family. It's very clever, very, very manipulative. Family is strong. Family lasts forever. Friends and lovers come and go. If you've been with a narcissist, you will know that being inside a family with them is not a place that you want to find yourself because it will be the end for you. There's an unspoken ownership. You're mine, and I will always want and try to possess you, no matter what. And in order to possess you, I need to break your will and make you subservient to me. I remember being not long out of the narcissistic relationship and watching Interview with the Vampire with Brad Pitt as Louis and Tom Cruise as Lestat. And in the story, Lestat sires and creates Louis. He kills the human Louis to create the vampire Louis. Lestat finds Louis at his most vulnerable and the darkest place of his life. And he romantically convinces Louis to join his underworld by leaving his own one behind. And even though the film doesn't portray this, there are homosexual undertones to it. But Lestat wants Louis to be a forever family with him. Basically, he's lonely. He doesn't have a companion. He's never going to die unless somebody stakes him. He knows that his world is dark and miserable. It's a place that is awful for him to live because he's lived it long enough. And that's just like a narcissist. They wear a mask to present the very best of their life and the very best of who they are to get you to join the fun. And Louis obviously quickly discovers, as everybody else does inside narcissistic relationships, that things have been hidden from him. And the truth of being a vampire is really not all that Lestat had promised it to be. But Lestat wants to make a family with Louis. And this film, it really touched me so, so deeply because the pain of Lestat's character and his absolute need to be with Louis really reflected to me the narcissist and the narcissistic relationship that I was caught within. And for me, it caused me a lot of distress. It made me cry because I felt the weight of that malignant narcissist need on me, not to abandon them. And it does make you feel guilty. It makes you feel like a family figure or a parental figure that's abandoning your child. And that is the moral dilemma that the narcissist puts you within. You have to make a choice. You have to leave the narcissist in order to save your own life and to survive. And the narcissist makes you feel as if they cannot live without you. So you feel this responsibility for somebody that's quite vulnerable and fragile and very childlike.
If you stayed with me, I could venture out again. Become the old Lestat.
I must leave now.
The vampire narcissists, they know that they're tortured souls. They know that they're very, very dark and tormented. But they hide this truth from you. And you find out that, having you around not only comforts them, but you'll be the object in which they'll use to take out their torment. And they'll torture you instead of being tortured themselves, because somebody needs to get tortured and they don't want it to be them. This is the demonic aspect. And of course, this is also true with vampires. The vampire entraps you by making you feel like you wouldn't survive without them, because they make you what you are, because they made you. Yeah, your existence is then thanks to them. Once you're with them, you don't have an identity anymore. So there's this seduction into the relationship. And what is actually happening on the energetic and spiritual level, and the energetic is the spiritual, is that by entering your world, you're entering a covenant, an unspoken and unseen agreement with them. You're signing your life away. You're giving them your soul. None of this is actually known to you at the start, obviously, until you realize that not only you're in a trap, but you're entrapped, because you realize you can't get out without a massive struggle. Something is holding on to you energetically. You're possessed by them. And this is very well portrayed in the vampire genre. In fact, I don't think that it's portrayed anywhere else with such accuracy. And this level of toxic entrapment doesn't happen to all sources of supply. Let's be clear. There are some people that are handpicked by the narcissist to be forever enslaved, like we see in the vampire films. There can be such a magnetic pull and this claim on "you're mine" that you still wear long after the relationship has ended. And I'll speak more about this at the end if you're experiencing this yourself.
I'm the real victim here. I'm the one you swore to protect. And you abandoned me!
Both the vampire and the narcissist know your programs. They've got a whole case file on you, and they know who you are without actually knowing who you are, if that makes sense. They know your buttons from the programs. Both know exactly how to validate you and make you feel seen and loved. They adore you in the beginning. And this adoration that you perceive as genuine interest and love gets you to trust and believe them. They're actually your enemy, but they're clever in getting you to believe that they're really your ally. They win you and they draw you close to them by always making you feel needed. And the love and the need, it further validates you. In the beginning, you've got no idea how toxic this will all become in this process. At the start, they're actually grooming you to become their servant and their property, because, they're training you to get used to their validation and approval. And gradually, what will happen is they start becoming your authority as you're losing your autonomy. And I've made another video about this previously, and I'm going to link it down below. This is actually the start of coercive control. And even though not all narcissists do use coercive control, every single psychopathic malignant narcissist really is calculated and really does use coercive control.
Let us rid this world of his evil, and you can finally be free!
Free. The moment I'm gone, they will lock you away for what you've done for me. I am your only salvation. I am your only friend. I am the only one who cares for you.
Okay, so now I'm going to speak about where this trauma bond starts to be created. And it's actually reflected in any dynamic that's set up as a servant and master dynamic. Now, the vampire narcissist is reliant on other people for their well-being. I need you to do X, Y, Z. And when you do X, Y, Z, you're possibly going to be rewarded, maybe. But if you don't, then you're going to be punished. In the beginning, the narcissist, you'll get a lot of approval from. You get a lot of rewards. But over time, it starts to diminish, as you know. The narcissist makes you responsible for their emotional regulation, for their food, their stability, their security, their total dependence. They're dependent on you. So they need to also make you dependent on them. And this is the toxic codependent dynamic. Everything that goes wrong in the life of the narcissist, also seen between Dracula and Renfield, you as the servant gets the blame. It's your fault. The victim is trained to not have needs of their own and is trained to prioritize the wants and the emotions of others, sacrificing their own selves always. There's no boundary line between self and other. It's just one big toxic merger. But this always happens to the detriment of one person and the benefit of the other. And this is a relationship based upon complete one-sided power. But the irony is the narcissist is actually using you for their power. Without you, they don't have it. So they need you convinced that they're all powerful and you're a nobody. And because they have approved of you so much in the beginning and they got you to believe in it, they're also able to disapprove of you and tell you that you're worthless, and also then get you to believe in that. Because within the relationship, they have so insidiously claimed power over you. They've parasitically entered your system. They've violated you, and they did it whilst you weren't looking. And that goes against ethical codes of humanity. That is so bad. It's the worst abuse that, is imaginable. Through this parasitic element, they're tapped into you energetically and spiritually. They exploit and they drain your energy, just like the vampire taking blood from their victims. And there's a point where you probably do become aware of this, that your relationship has become too close, too toxic. You're exhausted. You feel exploited and used and abused and all of that. And yet you're unable to actually leave. There's a toxic sense of mutual need, an addiction even, and a fear of abandonment. And this is the sickness of the relationship, because you're destroying yourself as the sacrifice for another person to have life. They're fully vampiric and parasitic on you and your life energy. This is on a spiritual level. And because you're the source of their life, they can't let you go. So they try to keep you hostage. And it really does involve so much spiritual power to free yourself from narcissistic relationships. It can be really painful and frightening. And there's a part of you that's so entangled within that's willing to sacrifice yourself. And you see the moment the relationship, when you do try to show independence and autonomy to please yourself for a change and do something for yourself, the narcissist will make you feel so guilty and so much shame, because having your own needs and your likes and your wishes is a massive no-no. Because if you have the smallest amount of freedom and connect to you as an individual, it threatens the narcissist's power and control. They can't allow it. They need to keep you suppressed. And that includes your personality and your character. So you won't be free to express yourself around a narcissist. So fast forward now to the end of the relationship with the narcissist. And you're out of it. Most people that haven't gone through narcissistic abuse will be like, okay, well, you're out of it now. You can just move on. The trouble is, the narcissist has planted themselves inside of you. They've mixed you with them. They've mixed your blood together. And they've made a claim on you, your mind, and you can still feel this claim of ownership and their need for this energetic and emotional entanglement with you. They want a clear channel to your energy. They don't want to let that one go. This entanglement is very, very deep, and it will take quite some time, quite a process to disentangle from it, because you've had a trespasser on your premises and you need to get them out. The unwelcome parasite is still in your head and in your body. In psychology, they call this the inject, because they've been your authority for some time. So we're still carrying their voice within us. We can still hear it in our minds. And once they're gone, we can still feel their energy trying to re-engage us. And we can hear their voice. And when we show signs of escaping their grasp, they can feel it energetically. They can feel us pulling away. They can feel that they're losing power. So they're going to do anything to try to reassert their position of dominance. They might even appear vulnerable and needy to make us feel guilty. And this goes back to the vampire, you know. The narcissist tries to reflect that they were the one that saw you. They were the one that made you who you are. And that connection in the vampire story is so strong between the vampire and their sire, the ones that made them. And it's expected of you to have this loyalty to them forever. And the narcissist expects the same loyalty till death do us part, because they entrained you, they brainwashed you, and they parasitically got inside of your system and they took complete ownership and control of you. They violated you. And they actually used this as a way that they could then gain access to your energy to drain your life force. Vampirically, they tricked you into believing that you've got this bond with them that's really deep on a soul level. But that's not the truth. This is actually masking the real truth, that they were, and possibly still are, the parasite of your life. And they've hijacked your soul path. They're actually not powerful without you. This is the parasite that's speaking to you and claims that it's your master. That's why they program you so intensely to serve them, because they need you, but they know that you don't need them. But they can't allow you your freedom because they can't be free of the darkness that's eating them alive and keeping them hostage. That's their narcissism, and that's their sacrifice. They're totally trapped within that world, and they need you to be in it with them. So breaking this trauma bond, this supernatural entanglement, this leak of your energy to this parasite is all about reclaiming yourself and cutting them off from access to you on an energetic level. And you do this by training your mind to focus on you and your life. And we see in vampire films, whether it's Louis or Renfield, we see these characters rejecting the narrative of their creator and master. They reject the internalized voice. They reclaim their own voice. And this is what the recovery process after narcissistic relationships is all about. We've been negatively impacted by a narcissistic relationship, just like being bitten by a vampire and mixing blood with theirs. It changes your life. And although it is one of the most brutal and destructive things that could ever happen to a human life, it really doesn't need to be the end. And we've got to remember that we have life. And this is what the narcissists wanted to steal from us, because they don't have life without others. So what better revenge is there other than reclaiming your own life and using the abuse as the springboard for your own transformation? This is a major subject, and the narcissist really needs you to continue thinking that you belong to them. They need you to stay in a state of suppression, always looking to them as your authority. We just need to remember who we really are, who really has the authority and who really has the power. And I can tell you, it's nobody outside of you. The narcissist is not as powerful as they pretend to be. If they really were so powerful, they wouldn't need to lie, cheat, and steal their way through life. You're stronger than you know, so I wish you all the best in your recovery. And I've got some more videos coming up that are related to this one that could be of help to you. And if you're in need of a good laugh, then go and check out some of my comedy skits. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
You're the one with the real power. And all you gotta do is take it back.
I'm gonna grow to full power.
I see a smile there.